This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shoshina Roll. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news, it was once a beacon of Freeport's thriving economy, but today it struggles with very little economic activity. A group of Bahamians believe that it will take a concerted effort to bring back the International Bazaar. One of the persons leading the charge is giving some insight today on how it can be done as he addressed the Rotary Club of Lucaya's weekly meeting.
We put together a plan for the International Bazaar.
C. McMahon Campbell, a local attorney, and several other Bahamians say they have put on their thinking caps to revitalize the International Bazaar. While many Grand Bahamians have heard it time and time again, Campbell says a thorough plan can sustain the area that was once a bright spot on this island.
Basically what I did, I would have spoken to some of my friends within the state of Florida to find new ways as to how the bazaar could be brought back to life. So what the first thing we did was we went online to find out how really bad is the International Bazaar from an international standpoint. You type in International Bazaar, here are the things you're going to see. In October 2012, investors may buy the International Bazaar. That never came to fruition. August 2013, International Bazaar sales rumors denied. July 2015, decay and disrepair at the International Bazaar. August 2015, Grand Bahama visitors disappointed by rundown International Bazaar.
He recalls a time when the 10-acre property comprised of some 90 shops, 13 restaurants, and 6 ice cream shops representing countries around the world. He says the first order of business is to light up the eastern section with some help from the Grand Bahama Power Company.
During phase 1 of the lighting phase, we would have architects and a construction firm to go into every single room and to evaluate the damage of each room. From this exercise, the matrix that we decided to use was from the total cost of repairs for the spot will be allocated, and based on the total projected cost of repairs, it will be subtracted from the proposed rental unit at a period for 3 to 5 years.
He says a cleanup campaign will follow, and they are hopeful that Grand Bahamians will join in.
The vision for the cleanup campaign is to engage corporate Bahamas and their employees, high school students, community service organizations, and willing Bahamians to instill a view that this cleanup campaign is not a method of free labor to the owners, but a restoration journey to put back on track a place we once called the International Bazaar.
Campbell believes an open house should be used to attract potential renters of the available spaces, adding that at least 16% should be occupied. He notes that the right complement of shops and businesses will attract the right customers.
Beauty salons, women can follow their beautician. Barbershops, pubs, believe it or not, number houses. Those things move traffic. And not just that, the government has to provide an anchor government entity within that section as well. Whether it be road traffic, whether it be environmental health, whether it be anyone, would we need anchors.
He says the International Bazaar can come back to life, but Grand Bahamians must play their role.
I think for far too long we stay away, hoping that a foreigner will come in and do their part. But the problem is we wait too long sometimes to act for ourselves.
In other news, the reopening of Sunrise Highway, the road just in front of the International Bazaar, is said to be one way to stimulate new growth in that once popular shopping mecca. During the budget debate in Parliament, the Minister for Grand Bahama said something must be done. Here's Joan Davis-Roll with this report.
Fiscal prudence, not the only priority for the government. Improvements to Grand Bahama's overall landscape to figure prominently in the government's plans going forward. During his contribution to the budget debate in the House of Assembly recently, the Minister for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Dr. Michael Davo, revealed how the government is moving to address another concern, the reopening of a major thoroughfare.
Grand Bahama has a road at the entrance of the old Royal Oasis Hotel that connects West Sunrise Highway and it has been a bone of contention for the people of Grand Bahama for years. This administration has heard the cries of the people of Grand Bahama in this regard, and as a result, we are now in dialogue with the Grand Bahama Port Authority and the owners of this property, Hackord Development. I am happy to report that West Sunrise Highway must be reopened, which will create the necessary commerce for the international bazaar and reduce the round-trip traffic from the harbor back to the Locayan Strip.
East Grand Bahama, Minister Darville says, has not been left out of the equation as a contract has been signed for a much-needed project.
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to report that the government, with the advice of local government, is constructing a new cemetery in the High Rock constituency. The architectural plans have already been rendered, contract awarded, work has already begun. Mr. Speaker, I wish to take this opportunity to thank Mr. John Pinder for his willingness to work with the government in granting the approval, and to say that the people of High Rock will be getting their cemetery. East Grand Bahama is moving, and we're getting stronger.
Joan Davis Roll, ZNS Network News.
In other news, Carnival Cruise Lines is exploring the establishment of a port of its own here on this island. The cruise line is responsible for bringing thousands of passengers to Grand Bahama on an annual basis, and those in the sector is weighing in on how it could benefit the overall tourism product. Cleopatra Murphy has more.
Grand Bahama are waiting to see if Carnival Cruise Line will get approval to create a private port in East Grand Bahama. The cruise line that is looking to relocate from the Freeport harbor currently has an application under review. Should it be approved, Director of Tourism Betty Bethel says officials are looking to embrace Carnival in a bigger way.
Whenever that project does come on stream out east, we see that it will be an opportunity for us to showcase more of the destination product from the east to the western end of the island, and just spread the business further and wider throughout Grand Bahama Island.
Grand Bahama attracts approximately 1.5 million cruise ship passengers annually. A large portion arrive by Carnival. Bethel says a port in East Grand Bahama represents an opportunity to create a unique tourist experience.
A lot of times our experiences evolve just because of the location where they are, but going into an area and developing it from a concept and planning it out to where we could maximize the visitor experience as well as maximize the revenue that would be generated from our guests. We would have that type of opportunity.
She says while the Freeport harbor presently works, it is a multi-purpose facility.
That harbor also accommodates other types of business. Now we have an opportunity where we can have a dedicated area strictly for leisure, as well as an area dedicated to more of the industrial business.
The Director of Tourism says the cruise business has been good to Grand Bahama, and Carnival has been a major partner to the country. She says along with the Balearia and the Grand Celebration, they have been an important mix in visitor arrivals to the island. Cleopatra Murphy, ZNS Network News.
In news from the crime beat, Michael Bradley, the man convicted of manslaughter in the death of his father-in-law, was back before the Supreme Court today. Before handing down sentence, presiding judge Justice Estelle Gray Evans noted that Bradley's apparent remorse for the crime was taken into account. Megan Shepard reports.
30-year-old Michael Eric Bradley hauled before the court one final time to be sentenced for the murder of his 70-year-old father-in-law, Sundiata Karamo. The former educator was killed during an altercation in February of 2015. Based on evidence presented to the court, Bradley and his wife were involved in an altercation. The victim attempted to intervene, and that is when he was stabbed to death. A probation report submitted to the court noted that Bradley admitted to being heavily intoxicated on that day and that he claimed that he had no memory of what had happened. The report also noted that Bradley accepted responsibility and understood that a punishment will be rendered. Prosecutor Olivia Blatch petitioned the court to take into consideration the mitigating factors in the fatal stabbing, asking Justice Estelle Gray Evans for a sentence of 18 to 35 years, while Bradley's attorney, Mario Gray, requested the lowest sentence of 18 years. In the end, Bradley was sentenced to 20 years in prison, but he will only serve 18 years and 7 months due to time already served.
When I proffered to the court 18 years, I didn't take into consideration, or I was not thinking about it in the sense of time served. 18 years for me would have started today. So ultimately, when the court says 20 years, took into consideration the time that he had already spent, that reduced it to 18 years and some 7 months or so. And so I feel good about that.
Now, before sentencing, Bradley was allowed to address the court. His wife and sister were both present, and he expressed remorse for the death of his father-in-law. He said he was crazy and stupid for his actions and that he had negativity in him. Bradley told the court that he has given his kids and his family a bad name and that he was sorry to have put them through that. He also says that he deserves whatever punishment the judge decides to impose, and he became emotional.
In this particular instance, we had a number of factors. We had alcohol to consider. We had the fact that the defendant or convict, he showed remorse. I think that was very evident in the court by him apologizing to the family, his sister, his wife in particular, who, when you think of this, has lost a husband and a father in the same event. He apologized to her. I think the court also took into consideration the psychiatric report, which spoke to him suffering from other ailments.
Bradley was then handcuffed and led out of the courtroom. Bradley's 2 children were present outside of the court and looked on as he was led into the police van. Gray says that Bradley has accepted the 20-year sentence and that he is hoping to receive treatment and rehabilitation while incarcerated. Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
In other news, the family of 47-year-old Grand Bahama pilot Terrence Tango Gibson say that they are trying to come to grips with his tragic death. Gibson and another man, mechanic Anthony Scrubby Smith, were killed in a plane crash in Bimini on Sunday. Gibson's mother says in the midst of the pain, she gives thanks. Cleopatra Murphy has this report.
The mother of 47-year-old Terrence Gibson is a picture of strength as she maintains her composure following his death in a plane crash just a day before. A complete contrast to his cousin, who broke down in tears. 74-year-old Rachel Roll says she last saw her son when he came to her house for lunch on Father's Day after attending 3 church services. He said he had to go to Bimini and would be right back, but that never happened. Roll recalls how she learned of his death through a phone call.
The granddaughter picked up the phone. Say, "Wait, Mom." And she said, "Right here, let me talk to her." She said, "What happened? Let me talk to Mom." Then he said the phone, "Mom, Terrence went to Bimini and two of them were on the plane, said crash, and both of them died." I said, "No, it couldn't be so." So I just gave my granddaughter the phone and sat down.
Roll says the pilot and father of a 24-year-old son, Damon Gibson, had been in a plane crash before and survived. After the initial denial, Roll, who was surrounded by family and acknowledged losing another son 15 years ago, says she is okay.
I am more blessed. Because God give it and He take it away, and I realize that one day I'll be gone. And He said, "Be ready. They coming. No man know. Just be ready."
She says Gibson, who returned to the country 6 months ago, began driving a taxi, but flying still called to him.
He loved being a pilot. Oh, I just tell him I didn't want him back on no plane. I just didn't have that good feeling of him back on a plane, but that's what he loved. I couldn't take him out of it. And God loved him best.
His cousin Anastasia Saunders, awash in tears, says she cooked the Father's Day meal for Gibson, and he said he would get it when he returned from Bimini. They usually said "I love you" on departure, but this time they did not. She says Gibson loved everyone.
He was a good person. He was loving. Everybody could have just called on him. And he would do whatever. He would put his stuff down, whatever he had to do, and do for other people.
His mother, now resigned to his death, says she hopes her son found rest. Cleopatra Murphy, ZNS Network News.
Stay with us. There is more news when we come back.